The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised. All right, welcome back to Am I Mental? A mostly weekly live podcast where real people share real stories about living their lives with mental health issues. I am your host, E, and with us, as always, is the co-host, Bexy.
Hi.
And this week, the episode is going to be about some of the absolute crap that Bexy's been through, I've been through, and I was also going to talk a bit about how, when my son was diagnosed with CRMS, how that impacted my mental health and also how it impacted the family dynamic and the marriage overall. But before we get started, just a real quick pay the bills thing. If you like what you hear and you want to help us out, share episodes, especially ones that you think will resonate with someone. Aside from that, if you want to do a little bit extra for us, you can always go to mimental.net/donate. There's a number of ways that you could give, including being able to buy some merchandise. We are not far away from hitting a financial goal, which will allow us to roll out something pretty damn cool. And without further ado, let's get started. So far, it looks like the chat's pretty empty.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone.
Yeah, it just says, feels lonely in here. Be the first to send a message. I don't know that I necessarily want to even start going into it until we at least get a hi. Make sure that there's at least somebody we're talking to.
I'm asking right now. Anybody out there?
Is there anybody out there?
It's like, don't make me break into Christmas carols to pass the time, because I will. Oh, hey, Kat.
Awesome. One thing that we did discover, I just discovered it a couple days ago, and Bexy discovered it when I told her. It turns out we have been mispronouncing the name of the host. It's not Sprecher, they're Spreaker. That is how they pronounce it themselves.
And again, I still say, Sprecher sounds better.
I'm thinking that it sounds better. I mean, I can see why. It's spelled like a speaker, but with an R in it. So I get it, but maybe it's just that we're just used to saying Sprecher. I don't know.
Probably. All
right, so I'm just going to go ahead and start right into it.
Okay.
The first part is, this is something that I shared with a friend. They also have, like I do, they have migraines, and they have seasonal affective disorder. And when I was talking to them, it's like, it would be nice if I was with somebody that actually understood. My wife has had maybe 2 migraines in her entire life. I don't know necessarily that they were truly migraines or not. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. And she doesn't have seasonal affective disorder. She does get depressed, but I don't think she gets, crippling. And yesterday, I was really down. I was really, really down. I wasn't really necessarily contemplating suicide. I was just contemplating just getting in the car, driving off to the middle of nowhere, and never being seen again. And then our conversation a little bit about it was like if this friend of mine and I were together, which we're not, and, I'm not going to say that it could happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm married right now, and we're definitely, I'm very dedicated to my wife. But we were going through, and I was like, I have bad days, I power through them, and then I have crippling days, which she clearly doesn't get. Getting up to go to the bathroom is a win some days. I went and got something to drink. Winning! And she's like, right? Gold fucking star, because, that's a big deal. I was like, ever go so long you don't remember if you peed in the last 24 hours? And her reply was, oh, for sure. I was like, oh, look, I pissed orange dust. And then I wiped to add moisture. Which left about that. But there's I get it. It sounds absolutely insane to normies. And I'm sorry for saying that normies. You're maybe normally developmental, mentality and emotional health. I'm a bit envious of you guys. But
me too.
And I was this may sound insane to normies, but guess what? We aren't exactly sane now, are we? Just like I can't pretend to know the immense pressure a neurosurgeon feels when removing a brain tumor, I can't expect you to understand how crippling depression and anxiety is for me and those like me. It's like asking a non-migraine sufferer to understand a migraine so powerful every heartbeat causes a white flash behind your eyelids. Each beat feels like a blacksmith's hammer crushing your skull. Every scent and sound is magnified to 11 where your threshold is at 7. That rolling over causes the pain to escalate to the point of throwing up. Sure, I could put it into words, but unless you've been there, it's just words conveying an alien concept.
This is true.
And that's how bad I was yesterday. There was a storm front that came in. And that's what was causing me to be in just such a bad place emotionally. With seasonal affective disorder, during the wintertime, your emotions become your barometer. And it's it gets frightening. Because it gets bad. It gets really bad, just how far down that rabbit hole you can go.
Yeah, it really sounds like a scary thing to have to go through. And it's nothing. I don't have seasonal affective disorder, so I've never experienced the things that you have gone through. But oh my goodness, I can't imagine.
I mean, I had friends that reached out to me yesterday that I've been friends with since 4th grade, saying, "Hey, are you okay? I worry about you sometimes." And I mean, that meant everything in the world to me to get that message. They can't help me per se. But that message alone helped me immensely.
Well, it's knowing that there's somebody out there that actually truly does care, that really does help a lot. Even if you can't reply, even if you just physically can't. You can't reply, you can't acknowledge them back. Just knowing that there's someone out there that you can reach out to if you truly needed to is a big deal.
It is. And I replied back to him saying, it's just my seasonal affective disorder and there's a storm front coming. I'm stronger than the storm, but the storm does take its toll.
Yes.
And Kat just asked how long we've been together.
Yes.
My wife and I have been married for 10 years, been together for 12. It's a significant time. And this time of year gets really hard on our marriage, because I spiral into unpredictable, deep depressions out of nowhere. I have a job interview tomorrow. It'll be my first job in, over a year. So it's been a while. With this whole COVID thing, I became the stay-at-home dad, and, she makes really good money as a nurse, so it worked out. But now she's no longer working in a hospital. She's now working in a surgery center. Her hours aren't as long. The pay isn't as good. There is pretty much no such thing as overtime anymore. There's no call shifts. There's no any of that. So now I had to go back to work. Now, this job that popped up, not where I ever saw myself going, but it really interests me. The work that they do I find fascinating. And it has to deal with solar, so it's not like it's going anywhere. Solar's here to stay. That much is clear. So it's a stable field to get into. Not all businesses in solar are stable, but the knowledge itself can transfer from one company to another. There will always be a solar company. And I wound up writing a 2-day manic episode over it. And, I mean, there's no other way I could put it. Because I wasn't like in a, oh my god, I'm over the moon, super happy. But I was just, there was a bounce in my step. And I felt infallible. I got myself a 30-day ban off of Facebook. So, yeah. You see, that's the price of my episodes, is that I wind up saying stupid shit and doing stupid shit and get myself in trouble. And I'm usually like, oh, well, whatever at that time. Because I'm in I'm in a pretty good mood. Well, that was followed by the storm front coming in yesterday and a hard crash into the depressive side of things. And as the rainstorm was coming, like the closer it got, the more withdrawn I started becoming, the more I wanted to just be alone. But it's kind of crazy because it's like I want to be alone, but I want to be held. You know, I want someone there that I could talk to, but I don't want any talking whatsoever. It's like I just want conflicting things at all times. I want to go exercise, but I want to go out and take a walk, but I want to stay in bed. And it drives everybody mad around me because I start getting really short-tempered. I start to snap at people because like I'm in basically mentally, I'm in a blender. It's horrible. I wouldn't wish this upon my second worst enemy. My worst enemy, sure, they can go ahead and go through it too. If I have to go through it, they can go through it. But honestly, I know this is something I wouldn't wish upon somebody because I don't know what I want, and I don't know what I don't want. I just know that I want to not feel the way I feel, and I can't really do anything about it. I can't reach out to anybody that would truly ever understand. Even another person that has seasonal affective disorder, well, each person deals with it uniquely. You know, like autism. Every person that's autistic is unique. Just like everybody's unique. Just like everybody's experiences are unique. And I know I've said it a lot of times in the past, and I'll say it again, is that your experience may be completely and universally, uniquely yours. That no one in all of time and history has ever experienced what you experienced. But there's only so many emotions that the human can feel. So I know that there's people out there that can understand what I'm going through. It's just, how do I explain it? How do they explain it? And yeah, I felt completely alone, and it really sucks.
Oh, we have a comment from Lennon. It says, man, that is exactly what I go through with my depression. And Richard says the seasonal stress be hitting different in pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
For sure.
Yeah, Lennon, I know we've talked before. You get it. I get it. It sucks. And Richard's right, man. This year, oh, man, it's hitting like a Mike Tyson uppercut to the nuts. Just put it that way.
Oh,
I
mean, I can just imagine the pain of that. Just ow.
Or his signature full body twist left hook that he made so famous, right in the dingly dangly. But I was awake until the rain finally broke at like 1:15 this morning, and once the rain starts. It kind of like washes away a lot of that built up anxiety and depression that comes with that storm front. So that was nice. At least for me, it does that. Now I'm still depressed. I'm still not doing great, but at least I'm no longer in that, stuck somewhere between fight and flight, contradicting itself constantly.
Kat says ouchies and then bites your ear off.
Yep. Yeah.
And Devern says, only thing I hated about this year was that school was trash.
Well, you know why they call it remote learning, right? Because your chances of learning are remote. So yeah, that's my update for seasonal affective disorder. It's been rough the last few days, and it all started, I had a killer migraine a week ago. We'll be on this coming up Friday. And that's when I got, my wife went, hey, check out this job I just found through this temp agency. And it's that solar panel, the solar company one. And I went, you know what? I'm just going to call the recruiter and say, hey, I see that this job is posted. Here's who I am. Here's what I can do before I send my resume. And kind of say, what kind of job is this? What's the pay? Is it a temp to hire? Is it just a contract? Let's get some talking going. And it is a temp to hire. Unlike most temp to hires that usually are a 1-year contract, this is only a 3-month contract. They plan on bringing you on board within the 3rd to 4th month. And it pays really well. I get to work from home, which I really like. That way I can play with my dogs while I'm working. And, and by the time I got done with the call, I just talked to them and, just my normal self. And I was like, can you believe that, it's like, in case you're wondering what my demeanor's like when I'm in agony, I have a migraine right now, and I'm talking to you just like this. And she's like, whoa. Yeah, we need to get you into this company. And like, what about when you're stressed? I'm like, oh, I could be doing a stranglehold on my wrist holder, and I'll still sound just like this. I know it sounds like I'm smiling, because I have kind of that smiley voice, that I can project. But right now, I'm not smiling. Not even a little bit. This is just me. Like, if Bexy went back on the camera, she could vouch that I'm not smiling right now.
No. I've been, we have our little pre-show thing and everything. No, there's not smiles. It's just straight-faced.
But I sound like I'm smiling.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it's a learned skill, because they always tell you can hear your smile over the phone, and for most people, I can tell if you're smiling or not, unless you're really trying to disguise it. I've just learned to disguise it to the point where it's just second nature to me now, where I don't have to smile to sound this way. So yeah, that's my current seasonal affective disorder update. I know that when we come back, we're going to take a 2-week break. We're going to come back after the new year. I'm sure I'm going to have some more stories to share because it's the holidays.
Yay!
But I had talked about it a couple times before, and I'm going to dive into it now since we've only taken up about 16 minutes. CRMS, Cystic Fibrosis Related Metabolic Syndrome. So, little thing that most people don't really know is that when I met my now wife, I had already had a vasectomy. I already had 2 kids that I fathered, both of them girls, but I was raising a boy and a girl. And my first girl was adopted out to my ex's husband. Then when I got divorced, I was still kept half custody of the boy who was not mine genetically, but he's still my son. I've been his dad since he was 13 months old. He doesn't know any other dad. And he lived with me when he was had to leave his house. He and his girlfriend broke up, and he needed a place to stay, and he stayed with me for 8 months. He's 26. He's my son. Well, after that, my current wife wanted to have kids, or at least try, so I went ahead and got a reversal, and we had to go through IVF with what's called ICSI. Now, IVF is the in vitro fertilization, where, they extract eggs from the ovaries, which I don't envy any woman that goes through that, because your ovaries, which are normally pretty small, about olive size, they will swell up to softball size, grapefruit size, football size.
Ow.
During this process. Yeah, and you're in just pure agony. And the real irony is, the more eggs that they get, the less likely it is to work, which they find kind of weird. But they were able to extract about, I want to say it was 20 eggs from my wife, which that was a lot. But because of the permanent damage I had sustained from how long my vasectomy was over 10 years. When they did the reversal, well, my vas deferens had deteriorated to the point where my little buddies that came out, they really didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were not very mobile. They were not very healthy. Some of them were coming out but not very mature. Kind of funny what happens when you remove, basically an eighth or a tenth of your vas deferens. Less time to get mature. So they had to do ICSI. Now, normally what they do is that they'll put an egg in a petri dish, and then they'll just drop a wad of sperm on top of the egg, and then just let them do their thing. With ICSI, they get a pipette to capture the egg, and then they use a syringe to suck up a sperm, tail first, inject it into the egg, and then shoot the sperm in to fertilize. Not cheap. Well, again, due to my not being the healthiest person on earth, being almost 40 at the time, and the vasectomy, every time they would go and try to capture a sperm, most of them would just explode. I was like, ha! I shoot hand grenades!
I'm sorry, that got me.
But no, they were able to successfully fertilize 14 of the 20 eggs. 6 of the eggs just completely failed. Again, even her eggs, they were not the healthiest. There was a lot of debris on them, and yeah, they were just we're not even going to mess around. We're going straight to ICSI on this. Bexy. She just put in a comment in the chat, gives new meaning to fire in the hole.
couldn't help it.
That was a good one. So, we went ahead and got, it was like 14 that were fertilized, and then they keep track of all of them. You know, they barely ever pull them out to look at them because they want to keep them undisturbed and developing on their own in the dark and everything. And we wound up having only 4 viable embryos. And they implant them 2 at a time. So you have a chance of having fraternal twins, but usually what happens is that one of them, even though they look viable, one of them may have some kind of a genetic issue to where the body just goes, nope, and rejects one. So we went ahead and we put in 2, which they had right away, which we learned was a bad idea, that we should have waited a month. Studies came out afterwards about what's called medicated uterus, meaning all the meds that they use to get the fertility up, to get the harvest the eggs and all that, could cause the uterus to be less receptive to implantation the following month. They didn't know it at the time. I mean, that's how fast this research and these studies come out. But we got lucky. We got one kid out of it. Beautiful daughter. So now I'm at the point of, yay, I've had 3 girls. You know, I've never fathered a boy. So we waited about a little over 2 years, and we had the other 2 embryos in a cryo freeze. And then we were able to go ahead and try implanting again. And we implanted the other 2, and we actually had 2 amniotic sacs, but one of the amniotic sacs was empty. We almost had twins, but one got reabsorbed, and then we got my boy. Now I'm really excited because I have what I call my bookend boys. You know, I have my oldest, who's, again, genetically not mine, but he's my son, who's the oldest out of all the kids, including my daughter that was adopted out, who now is back in my life again. And then I had, you know, so it's boy, girl, 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 boy. And I was over the moon with it. And it's not like, you know, I would have been upset had, you know, I not gotten that boy. I would have been totally fine. There was a part of me expecting a girl, but every pregnancy that was, you know, my fault, I was actually accurate in my predicting, going, this is a girl, this is a girl, this is a girl. Oh, hey, this is going to be a boy. I was right every time. It was pretty awesome. So one of the things they do is, of course, they take the umbilical cord and they run some tests, you know, and we get a call from an allergist saying, hey, your son just tested positive for a condition that could lead to cystic fibrosis. Immediately, the wife and I were both like, bullshit. We got screened. We know that she's the carrier for the cystic fibrosis gene, and I'm not. That's not possible. This has got to be a false positive. And we go to the allergist, and they're like, no, this is not a false positive. I said, you have a tri-delta T protein mutation. And that particular protein can interact with the cystic fibrosis gene and trigger cystic fibrosis. And it's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I was like, but we got screened. And we called up the fertility clinics, like, you guys screened, right? And they're like, yeah. And like, did you screen for malformed proteins? And like, yeah, we screened for like the top 60 or top 100. And I was like, well, because I have this. It turns out that out of all the proteins that are out there, mine was one of the most rare out there that they didn't screen for. So, talking to the allergist, we're like, so what are we looking at? And they're like, oh, he's normal right now. And he's going to be normal until it starts to happen. And that could be anytime between, anytime. Literally anytime. Usually happens while in grade school. Usually on the earlier side. Because based on where your son lies on this little spectrum, it's like there's 12 steps or 12 levels. And I think he was like level 7 or level 8 or 9. He was way up there. And like the first 5 levels, you'll die before you go full-blown CF. At 12, by the time we have the diagnosis, you're probably already CF.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, so with medications and treatments and all that stuff, what kind of life expectancy do we have? And like, oh, it's a lot better than it was. Just in the last 20 years. It's now up to 40 years. 20 years ago, it was only 20 years. Now we're at 40 years. And I'm like, I'm just barely over 40. I have lived quite a good life. I feel pretty accomplished in my life, but I still have a lot left to give. What the hell? I'm going to have to bury my son? You know, that was one of the first things that went through my head. And my
devastating.
Yeah, and my wife was kind of beside herself as well. It's like, wow, you know, she wasn't even 40 yet. And, you know, it was just a devastating diagnosis. Going, you know, because she's like, I haven't even hit 40 yet. I can't imagine looking 2 years into my future and going, oh, that's it. My life is done. So we had to do a bunch of extra testing, and we had to get involved with the cystic fibrosis team. And I was just, every time I'd look at him, I would just start to tear up.
Oh.
And I was like, what do I do? You know? It's like, you know, the human part of me says, treat him as you would normally, whether with or without the diagnosis, because he is a human being and he is normal right now and he will remain normal for some time. And of course, there's that self-preservation part. And I mean, as horrible as it sounds, should I stay somewhat detached? So that way I'm not completely devastated when I have to bury my son. It was hard. It was really hard. I never even talked to my wife about that. I might have to bring that up to her.
It's okay.
I think she knew though, because I think she was going through the same thing. But yeah, so for those of you who don't know what cystic fibrosis really is, it's basically your body becomes allergic to itself. That's why allergists deal with it. And it usually starts by, like, you start building up mucus throughout your body. Like your bile duct will get clogged with mucus. Liver ducts will get clogged with mucus. Your bronchioles will start getting clogged up with mucus. This is why things like gallbladder removal, liver transplants, and lung transplants are very common with people with cystic fibrosis. It's also why you have that impact vest. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it or seen it or whatever, but it's a vest that most people that have cystic fibrosis, they wake up in the morning, first thing they do is they put this thing on their chest, and it just basically just knocks the shit loose. For no better way of putting it. It's like one of those masseuse pads, except that it wraps around your chest, and it thumps pretty damn hard in order to try to knock the mucus loose in your lungs so you can hack it up, so that way you can live another day.
Yeah, I know before those vests were invented, before they were a thing, the treatment for cystic fibrosis was basically people would lay a child like on a bed or across their lap with their head hanging down and just kind of pound them on their back up by their chest.
Yeah, and it
loosen up the mucus and help them breathe better.
And it wasn't uncommon for these kids to be constantly bruised and the parents being constantly accused of being abusive.
And in reality, the parents were doing this just help their child live.
Right. So 6 months after that appointment, we have to go. Before I finish that, the one thing that the doctor did say is they are working on a vaccine for cystic fibrosis. It's targeting one of the rarer genes, and it is targeted gene therapy type vaccine. I was like, wow, vaccinate with that? And it's like, yeah, basically what it does is that you get this vaccine and it targets that gene in your body and just says, stay off forever. And I was like, okay, well, that's actually pretty cool. Targeted gene therapy is a pretty cool thing.
That's amazing.
And so 6 months later, we have to go and do a chloride sweat test. One thing about cystic fibrosis is that it's a desalinating disease. Your body just starts to get rid of all of its salt. And everybody knows how important salt is to your body.
Yes.
You know, it's one of the most important electrolytes that there is. So he has to increase his salt intake, and they monitor how much of the salt is basically being sweated out in his sweat to find out how advanced it is. You know, this is to prevent having to do CT scans or CAT scans or x-rays or anything else, because this is an internal disease that the only way you can see what's going on is you have to look at the symptoms and look inside and try to figure it out.
Yeah, we have a couple of comments when you were talking about, initially finding out about the diagnosis and the treatments and everything. Devern said, damn, that's horrible. And Kat just said, I never knew that. Wow. Really tough to know before your son is even born.
Well, again, Kat, he was born before we knew. They tested the blood in the umbilical cord to find out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I still think that had we known, we probably still would have gone forward, because it was still a 1 in 4 chance, a 25% chance. The odds were in our favor to avoid this. Unfortunately, with my youngest, it didn't happen that way. So anyway, we go and we do the sweat chloride test, and they're like, okay, you know what? He's in the normal range for how much chloride is in his sweat. It's a little elevated, but nothing to really worry about. Nothing to say that he's progressing very far. So at this point, just treat him completely normal. 6 months later, we go back to the allergist. So it's been a year. And the CRMS hasn't progressed very far at all. Like, barely at all, which is awesome. The goal is to try to see how far he can develop before it hits. Like, best case scenario at this point is he doesn't actually go full-blown CF until he's in his 20s. That way he makes it through puberty. So the doctor then says, hey, that vaccine I told you about, it was successful, and they're now developing a second vaccine for another one of the rare genes, but the first one is successful, and it looks to be very promising. And we're like, okay, that's fantastic. And she also says, and there's now this pill that once your son flips, and it's like, we're going to say he's flipped into cystic fibrosis when any one of the measurements that we use actually crosses the threshold. We're not going to wait for all of them to cross the threshold. As soon as one crosses the threshold, we're going full CF protocol, because it's just better that way. I'm like, okay, that's good. And she's like, so did you guys get to meet the CF team? I'm like, no, we really didn't get to see the CF team. We have the sweat test. She's like, okay, you guys need to go meet the CF team. There's a social worker, there's a dietitian, there's a blood pathologist or specialty. I mean, there's like 7 different people, that are going to be a permanent part of my son's life. Because as he starts progressing through CRMS and into CF, this team of people are going to be what keeps him alive and give him the best, quality of life imaginable. And again, none of this is cheap. Thank God for insurance. So she tells us there's this pill that it's taking these people's sweat test levels and dropping them like a huge number of points. Like, if you're at an 11, which is kind of an alarming level, I don't remember the exact levels. I was going to look them up, but SAD hit, and I looked up nothing. But you take this pill, and it could drop it from like an 11 down to a 5 overnight. And you take 2 pills a day, one at breakfast, one with dinner, and they're $1,000 a pill. And I was like, right. He said, don't worry. Insurance actually pays 100% of those pills. Like, wait, what? Like, yeah, even the worst insurance companies out there that cover nothing will cover these pills at 100%, because it is far cheaper than it is to do a lung transplant or a liver transplant and all of the meds that come with a transplant. This is far cheaper. So they will pay for it happily. And now the life expectancy has extended out to 60 years old. I was like, wow. In 1 year, we went from... So in 20 years, you went from 20 to 40, which is incredible for life expectancy. And then 1 more year, we went from 40 to 60. That's incredible.
That's amazing.
In 1 year, we doubled where we were before, for the last Delta. And we go 6 months later, and we do the chloride test. His number went up like by 1. No big deal. Again, progressing very slowly. And then, he's 3 years old, so guess what? We had 1 more appointment. Then this time the doctor said, okay, so the last 2 vaccines are now FDA approved and they're being used and they're successful. They're now developing the 3rd vaccine. This one is targeting the whale gene. The gene that's responsible for over 75% of cystic fibrosis cases and is the exact gene that my son has.
Wow.
So here we are now. From year, well, he's 3 years old. So from at year 0, we thought he was going to die at 40. Every time we looked at him, heartbreak. Year 1, we think, okay, 60. Well, 60 is a decent life. That's something that I could be at peace with going, if that's as far as it gets, 60 is still an accomplished life. Not far enough to actually retire, but that's an accomplished life. With the pill and this vaccine, average life expectancy now is 80.
That's amazing.
This was year 2 of 3. We haven't gone to see the allergist yet. We have our appointments coming up soon for this year.
Well,
and they actually took they were developing that vaccine. It was only like a couple weeks after that, before we even got to go do the sweat test again, that the news broke out that yes, FDA approved, it is working, and now they've blended all 3 vaccines into one vaccine. So it helps to drop the cost significantly, because now it's just like, well, if you have any of these 3 genes, it's all the same shot, it's all the same formulation, it's all the same, it's all going to work the same. And of course, insurance companies are like, yep, we'll 100% pay that. 100% pay that.
Yeah, Richard says it's always a weird day when the insurance company actually helps.
Right. I mean, and it comes down to, I mean, I get with insurance, you know, they are usually for profit. There are some that are non-for-profit, but they have to pay their overhead, they have to pay the salaries and all that, and I get it, you know, that they are in it to make some money, but at the same time, they actually do have to help somewhere.
Right. Kat says, absolutely amazing, and Devern says, wow, his life basically can be normal now, and that is lovely.
100% agree. Will he flip into CF? It's likely. They don't want to give him the vaccine until that day comes. Again, try to keep him as free of it, because I mean there are some side effects. They're still testing it. They still don't know what the long-term effects are of this vaccine. It didn't go through Operation Warp Speed, so yeah, it's been tested. You know, it's been tested heavily already. But again, they're still doing the long-term research. I mean, the longest that they have right now is 3 years of data. That's significant. Not going to say it's not. But we still don't know what 10 years down the road what those people are going to be like, or what's going to happen. And even then, you know, in 10 years, there's so many variables that get thrown in that they could just go, well, there's this loose correlation. You know? Then again, I'm also just making my best educated guess. I'm not an allergist. I'm not a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't develop vaccines. I just go off of what I read, and I read a lot of real heavy science stuff. And I don't mean like the conspiracy theory stuff out there. I go more towards, you know, the stuff that's really credible. Like when they cite things like The Lancet, you know, which is a very well-known, very popular, and well-respected scientific journal.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that roller coaster now, I can look at my son, and I don't even think about it anymore. I just look at him, and I just see this rambunctious little boy who has my face.
Yes, he does. Oh my goodness.
You saw that latest picture? Wasn't he like a mini-me?
He is a mini you. It is just, you look at that boy, and you could think that's tiny Eric.
Name drop. I knew it! I knew it was coming!
But it always happens. I'm horrible about it. I'm sorry.
But during that time, I mean, seriously, it affected... Initially, it affected every interaction I had with him. Now, admittedly, year 0, all he really is a pissing, shitting, eating, puking, screaming, crying, giggly, cooing, sleeping machine. And his favorite thing in the world was to disturb your sleep. But, I mean, that's every baby. Now, I mean, he's very well spoken. He doesn't formulate his words super clearly yet, but I mean, he's only 3. You know, there's a lot to put on him, but He's super smart. He's very funny. He's very active. This kid is all boy. I mean, I will see him just fall and eat absolute shit, scraping his face across the rug, pop up, total rug burn on half of his face, and he'll laugh and run.
I'm convinced if you don't make a big deal out of some injuries, kids don't even notice them.
Right, and that's always something that I've been dealing with since, even with my younger cousins. If they fall and they look at you for a reaction, don't give them a reaction of, oh my God!
Right.
Usually I stand up and do the baseball, like the umpire, safe! As Deverno was saying there, wow, his life could be basically normal now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. He can live a normal life. He is so close to the average life expectancy for humans in America anyway. So... And it's only going to get better from there, There's the Human Genome Project was the catalyst behind this. And I remember back in the 90s when I was reading about the Human Genome Experiment or project, I was going, wow, I wonder what things are going to look like, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And, well, here we are. It's been 20 years since that project, over 20 years since it started. And close to 20 years since they completed mapping out the genomes. And look where we are. Targeted gene vaccines. I don't even know that vaccine is necessarily the right word, because it's not like you're using it to prevent like a disease or building an immunity. It's going through and just saying, these 3 genes, no. Just plant the stop sign there. But yeah, no, it's pretty amazing, because I mean, I get something that some parents really don't get, and I really wish that they did, was that peace of mind and knowing, wow, we're out of the woods. I mean, we had Mr. Blonde, he was on here, and he talked about his son with the brain tumor. I don't know what the chances of surviving are, and I really hope that one day that he gets to feel this relief that I have, that his kid's going to be just fine. Even the people I hate more than anybody on the face of the planet, and I don't really hate that much. I really don't. I kid and say that I hate everybody. I just hate some less than others. But when it comes down to it, hate takes too much energy and effort. I would never wish anything upon their children, because it's their children. It's not the child's fault that the parent's a dick. But yeah, it really... Just think about it, because how devastating the news was at first. Oh yeah, he's going to live to be 40. Really? 40? Are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I'm 41, and he's going to be 40. That's bullshit. But here we are. And that's my my little story.
Well, that's I remember the day that you started telling me about all of the improvements and everything like that, and just how that was the most amazing news. I could hear the relief in your voice.
Oh, I'm sure.
When we were talking about it. I mean, it was...
And you barely knew me at the time, too. Like, we had just barely gotten to start to know each other.
Yeah. But it was... amazing to hear. And with each appointment, when the news just got better and better, it was more relief, and just, not being a parent, I'm using air quotes because I have had them.
Right.
But, I mean, I can't fathom, looking at your child and having to face the reality that they may only live to be 40 years old.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling to me, and to have to go through that is... When you say you're stronger than the storm, I fully 100% agree with that. You are stronger than the storm. Even if the storm may be tough and it may beat down on you sometimes, you're totally stronger than it.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was just such an intense and wild ride over that time span, you know, and it was great being able to get that good news, but, you know, then you start getting to that point of like, we're about to go see the allergist. Is there any new good news that I could expect, or am I going to hear some kind of setback news, or, you know, it's still hard going to those appointments. It really is.
Oh, yeah. I imagine it's nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. With a lot of other illnesses, people with the same illness, they're encouraged to, you know, have group settings and group sessions and hang out with each other and support each other. With cystic fibrosis, that's a death sentence. Two people with cystic fibrosis should never, ever come in contact with each other. Ever. They could kill each other.
That's scary. And something I didn't really know.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because, like, when we had our appointment, the allergist would have to completely doff their PPEs and don new PPEs between patients. And it all comes down to that in the back of the throat of CF patients, there's usually like a bacteria that will wind up forming and living there, which that person is a carrier of it and is immune to it, but it's lethal to other CF patients. So,
oh, wow.
So if two CF patients got together, they started kissing, they just killed each other. They may not realize at that time, but they killed each other.
Wow.
So yeah, their whole community thing, it's all remote and distance. They can't do anything together. I mean, they could do like similar activities like, hey, let's all go out and hike 1 mile. Okay. And they all hike 1 mile in completely different locations and then share their information about it. So, like, my son, if he ever goes CF, he can't go and hang out with a friend who has CF. He has to avoid them at all costs. For both of their sake.
Yeah. Different just said, well, shit, what if you don't know the other one has it and y'all walking in the world past one or by chance have coffee with one and you are one? That would be wild. It's like, how do you just live normally?
You don't.
No.
You really
unfortunately, you have to be extra cautious about things like that.
And I'm sure, that it's kind of like that it takes one to know one. I'm fairly certain that they can spot each other. If need be. And I'm sure that there's ways that they could tell each other. Like simply just, hey, my name is so-and-so. I have cystic fibrosis, just in case you do. I don't know. And that's something that that's a bridge we'll have to cross in the future. Right now, he's normal. All of his tests keep coming back that he's in the normal range of things. Yeah, they're slowly escalating, which is expected. And we're still hoping that he doesn't cross the threshold before puberty. Even with the vaccine, even with the pills and all that, it will still screw with his puberty development. We want him to have a normal puberty so he can go ahead and, have kids, have his own life. It's extremely unlikely that he would pass on both the gene and the protein to any of his children. Because like it's the same chances. It's still so it's that. Well, I can't say it's extremely unlikely. It's about a 25% chance that any of his kids will wind up getting both and having to go through the same thing. But it's not a death sentence anymore, per se.
That's the big thing.
Right. Anybody else have any other questions?
Give it a little bit for the chat to catch up.
Of course. I mean, naturally, there's still things that we're going to have to learn as we go.
Of course.
Like when it comes to his diet, we got to get this kid to like salty foods. But odds are he's going to like salty foods because his body's going to be craving salt because he's desalinating. It's like everybody else. It's like, yeah, if you go out and get fast food, avoid the fries. You get the fries.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those things. It's like, Oh, hi, son. Here, I want you to try here. Eat these French fries for me.
Right? Yeah, so your milkshake? Yeah, it's a salt shake. Enjoy.
Richard says French fries for days.
Right.
Cat says yum, salty foods.
I can see it now. Boy, get away from that salt lick. That's for the deer.
Oh my goodness.
He gets a salt lick and just sticks a popsicle stick in it. Look what I got. Ugh, just the thought of like a salt lick. Just...
What flavor is your popsicle? Oh, it's salt.
That's right. Out of all the flavors I chose, salty. Richard, parentheses, me at McDonald's. I'm raising awareness. You know how some people, just for shock value, will take the little ketchup packets, open them and squeeze them into their mouth? He's going to take the salt packets, open up and just... It's a pixie stick.
Cat says no, you'd be yelling at the deer to get away from the salt lick.
He's out there with a stick. It's mine! Well, that's my story. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to pop them up. Meanwhile, Bexy.
Oh, my turn.
Man, you had some shit.
I have had some... Oh, my goodness. So, in November, I got sick. At first, I thought it was just some allergies until I began to
I got the chat now.
have some uncontrollable vomiting and other symptoms, and I went and got tested, and I started feeling sick around November 20th. I found out 6 days later that I was COVID-19 positive. So I'm in a house with, you know, my little brother and my mom, who are both, you know, who both need to be, you know, protected from this, and it was really rough.
I'm just gonna say, when you said that you had COVID-19, the first thing that went through my head was, "Fuck," and she has Hashimoto's.
Yeah, that was my worry too. Dealing with coronavirus and having an autoimmune disease already is hell. There were about 3 days. Well, let me put it to you this way. I didn't eat for a week. I couldn't. I was, if it wasn't coming out one end, it was coming out the other. And I know that's disgusting, but that's the reality of it. The reality of it, it was horrible. I don't think I ate for about a week. Even now, I'm still having issues with my appetite. Today I have eaten 2 tamales. And...
Sorry, you said tamales.
And a peanut butter and jelly Uncrustable.
And I remember giving you the nurse's formula for a hydrating drink. May not be the tastiest thing in the world, but...
It is not tasty, but it helped.
That shit works. If I remember correctly, it's for 1 cup of water, it's like a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of sugar.
Yes.
And they use that in hospitals. That's basically, you know, those the salinating bags. That's basically what it is, and you can drink it. It just tastes like crap. It's salty sugar water. Boy.
Yeah, it was not the tastiest thing, but it did help a lot once I got over the extreme nausea, and that calmed down to where I could actually hold things down. It helped quite a bit. I lived off of basically that drink, Gatorade, and regular water for about another week. I was I am no longer positive for the virus. Thank goodness. I went and got retested when I started to feel better, and it came back negative. Adam never tested positive for it, which I'm grateful for. Unfortunately,
Damn, he's got the He-Man immune system.
yeah, he is healthy as a horse. He really is. Unfortunately, while I was sick, there were some issues with my mom and her health, and she started to not act right. So I had to call an ambulance, and we had to have her taken to a hospital because with me being sick, I couldn't care for her like she needed. And my mom has had a lot of health problems before, and she was in stage 4 kidney disease. I'm sorry. Once she was admitted to the hospital, we realized that she indeed came back positive for COVID, and she was also, her kidneys were shutting down.
I got you,
So on December 4th, I lost my mom.
And that's why she had to skip an episode.
Yeah. And I haven't. I've. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Nothing to apologize for. We got you, Bexy.
I just. I went through a period where and I'm still a little bit, it's there in the back of my mind that I got sick. And then my mom got sick and died, and it's my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
Logically, I know.
I know. Emotionally, emotions are stupid.
They are. And I just, it's hard to deal with. I mean, she had a good, she was 76. She would have been 77 in February. You know, I take a lot of comfort in the fact that I know she's not hurting anymore. But it was my mom. And even though, you know, there were times when we didn't have the greatest relationship, it was getting better.
I mean,
And
it went from where she was basically like your worst nemesis as far as being how you were treated to you actually had a really good relationship at the end there.
yeah. Yeah, and I've, you know, it's really hard because when it came to making her final arrangements for everything, um, she didn't want anything fancy. She wanted to be cremated. We were all fine with that. Me and my siblings that are left, and um, so we had no issue with that. We, you know, we do have a lot of family that is asking, you know, is there going to be a funeral? Do we need to come down? Is there a viewing? Is there this? And I have to tell them all. And I know that some of them probably think that I'm cold-hearted for this, but after suffering through what I did with having COVID and knowing that she is COVID positive, there are a ton of extra precautions that would have to be taken in order to actually have a funeral and have it be safe for people.
Right.
I didn't want to expose anybody else to this. I didn't want Adam exposed to it anymore because it's finally not in our house.
Right.
And I've even, kept him out of his day hab until it, kind of, I don't want to say goes away, but until like it's not as severe, because I know how I felt with it, and he just would not understand feeling that awful. And I don't want him to go through that. So there's no viewing, there's no final goodbye. I didn't get to see her in the hospital because I had the virus and they wouldn't allow me in. I did get to FaceTime her briefly, but it looked like she recognized my voice, but she couldn't focus on the screen. It's like she just kind of saw past me. And it is scary and it's confusing, and I'm no stranger to loss in my life. I learned about it early. I lost my dad at age 7. And from my mid-20s to my late 30s, I lost 3 sisters.
Wow. Yeah, it's like I'm not a stranger to loss. I've lost a lot of people in my life as well, but so far the closest as far as family goes is an uncle and all of my grandparents.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost aunts and uncles and grandparents too. But those really close family members, sisters, parents, those are hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, any loss is hard.
Yeah. And we actually have quite a few comments in here. Starting with Kat with an "aw man." Deverne, Bexy, I had no idea. I'm so sorry for your loss. Bunch of dots. Fuck. Kat sends hugs. Lennon, I'm so sorry for your loss. Richard, I've never wanted to hug someone through my screen more than now. Well, be careful, Richard. You might damage the screen. Kat, no. Brian Petro, hey, sorry for your loss. Just came on as you were talking about your mom.
Yeah, it's been a rough. Let's see. This all started around November 20th.
Yeah, we haven't even hit a month yet. It's December 17th.
Yeah, it's been a rough 3 weeks. Having to being bombarded while I'm trying to deal with everything myself. Hospice arrangements when she was in the hospital, and the doctors called me and told me that at first we were going to consider when we found out her kidneys weren't functioning right, and they were going to consider dialysis, and I gave them the go ahead for that, and got the call the next morning that overnight her kidney function had dropped from like 12% down to like 3.
Whoa.
Yeah, there was no. The doctor told me, he's like, honestly, we could put her through the dialysis machine, but it's not going to guarantee that there's no guarantee that it's going to help with her kidneys not working at this level.
Yeah, I was gonna say at 3%, it might as well be not at all at that point.
Yeah, and that was when they recommended hospice, which is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to okay in my entire life, because I don't know if many people realize this, but there is a very big difference between home health and between hospice. Now, a home health worker is there to help somebody who has been in the hospital, has been injured, has had surgery, or somebody who is disabled, and they will come out to the house and they will help with, things like bathing, some light cleaning, meal preparation, appointments and things like that. Hospice is in place to make sure that you die in peace.
Yep. They try to make you as comfortable as you can, knowing that this is the end.
Yeah.
And if there's a silver lining to any of this, with how fast it went from you deciding on hospice to the end, it shows that you really had her to the last possible moment. I don't know if that helps or not, but that's, I think, is important to point out. That, and you guys reconciled your relationship, too. That, I think, is the most important of it all.
Yeah. I haven't, I've tried so hard to make things good for Adam.
I'm really glad that Adam didn't get it. For sure.
Me too.
And we do have a couple extra comments in here. Like Kat said, that's so much loss, Bexy. I don't know how you managed to stay so happy and positive. I responded back because she's Bexy. She's an amazing person and a heart that won't let her stop. She said yes, she is, definitely. And also she said that she had a friend that had hospice.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had a grandfather that went through hospice. And then DeVern, I am just being honest. If I had Bexy's life, I would never have made it to her mom dying because I would have given up so fast. Also, I am proud of Bexy for being so tough.
Thank you. You know, I just don't ever want anyone at all, to feel like I've been made to feel for the majority of my life. And so, instead of being mean and petty, I rise above it. Because it's what I do. I can't.
Will rise.
Exactly. I can't be that person who lets bad experiences turn them into a Grinch. I am Cindy Lou Who, damn it. I am not the Grinch.
Well, hey, there's also another silver lining. You did get the COVID diet effect.
I did. Oh my goodness. In 22 days' time, I think I lost 20 pounds. If not more.
That put me at almost my goal weight, honestly. So.
Well, it knocked me down from a 4X t-shirt to a 3X. I dropped a whole size.
Yeah, it's just what you had to go through to get there. Fuck that.
Oh, I know. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I don't want to do it again. You know, what scares me, and is the reason why I haven't left the house since I went out to, I haven't really left the house for anything, or went in any place public or anything like that. I have gone places in a car, but I have stayed in the car with a mask on when people were like around the car, is because I know people who have gotten COVID more than once.
Yeah.
And that scares the hell out of me. I don't know that I can go through that again myself. Let alone, the risk to everyone around me. It's scary and it's terrible.
And I haven't even heard if you have it a second time, if it's more mild or not. I've heard varying stories, so I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. But if it hit me again, like, my body's already in a state of hyper awareness about things like, infection or inflammation and things like that. And then you add an actual sickness on top of it. Like, it can be really bad.
Yeah. And we just had Kat was talking about with the COVID diet, really tough way to get there with losing that shirt size. And then DeVern,
Yes.
I just hope these effing vaccines come soon. Not like I love shots, but fuck it, we need them. And then Kat about the getting it the second time, chances are it would be different. Yeah. I mean, if COVID acts like most other viruses, each time you get it, again, it should be more mild than the time before, since your body's already prepared. But this is a novel virus. We don't really know, and the data out there for catching it a second time it's still pretty. There's not a lot of it. It's pretty thin volume of data right now. Obviously, it's growing.
It's still, I was never afraid that if I got the virus that it was going to that it was going to be one of those things. I mean, I know that it's the survival rate is very high. It's usually people with compromised immune systems, the very young, the very old, that have the most issues with this. And so while, yes, I have a compromised immune system, I still thought, hey, I can deal if it happens. I don't want it again.
Yeah, I remember when I did get to chat with you and talk with you, it was very brief, and I could tell you were misery.
Oh yeah,
because of your autoimmune disease, I've learned that you could be miserable and push through it. You weren't pushing through this.
No, there was no pushing through this. There was no putting on a happy face and pretending that everything is okay. This was just pure misery. And, 22 days of it, that's how long I had from the time that I noticed the symptoms to the time that I was cleared of them. 22 days. And I actually still have some of the after effects of it, because not only do I have the exhaustion of, oh, look, you have an autoimmune disease and you're always going to be tired, I have the body ache of the flu on top of it. Constantly. It's just nasty feeling. So and it's getting better every day.
So basically it's like every day you wake up and some toddler just came up and said, fuck your spoons, and kicked them all.
Yep. Yeah, there were days when I didn't have spoons and all I could do was lay in bed. I don't think I could sip water. I would barely be able to make it. I would get up, put on a mask and gloves, make food for Adam if I had to. I tried to make sure that I had things in the house that he could easily get into and open himself to eat. So I could maintain some distance from him, and I would tell him, you stay back, you stay out of this room because I'm sick and you don't need to get it.
Yeah. And we're getting some more comments in there. A lot of talk about the Moderna vaccine, hoping that it comes out soon. Or talking about it. Kat says that talked to 2 people at work who had COVID, as well as their families. Each person experienced different symptoms. Drama pointed out that one of the problems is that there's mutations and such. Well, yeah, I mean, that's every disease out there. They mutate. It sucks.
It does.
And Lennon going, yeah, that sucks. And Dromo, yeah, that's the problem with COVID. Long-term crap, especially your lungs and crap. And Richard, I was blessed. I didn't have too bad of symptoms. Okay, too bad of symptoms. I only experienced about 5 days of aches, headaches, and hard to breathe. Not gonna lie, was scared I was going to stop breathing in my sleep.
Yeah, that was scary for me too. My chest hurt so badly. Just drawing a breath in, they had to be very shallow, because to take a deep breath was physically painful. I have never experienced painful breathing like that in my life.
Yeah, that tells me if I get it, I'm sleeping in a recliner.
Yeah, it's probably... Yeah.
Yeah, nope, never dealt with pneumonia in my life. No, actually, I haven't, but I know people that have, and I know that if you're starting to have lung problems, recliner's actually not a bad way to sleep because then it doesn't spread out across your lungs as well. It just kind of pools up at the bottom. Still scary, still dangerous, still painful, more likely to survive. Yeah. Unless your doctor says otherwise, obviously.
You know, having to deal with being sick and then still having to do all of this, you know, the bombardment of just phone calls and text messages and Facebook messages from family and things, and everybody wanting to come down here, and me trying to tell them, please do not do this. Because at the time that I was making all of these arrangements, I was still positive for the virus. And I'm telling them, I don't want you to do this. I don't want anyone else exposed to this. All I could think was, you know, this is between her already existing health issues and the virus. This is what brought my mother down. And, right. You know, I realized that all of her brothers and sisters that are left, you know, she was the matriarch of the family. She was the oldest living kid. The oldest of 13.
Whew.
Yeah.
My dad's second oldest of 10.
So, you know, I know that they all hurt and they all want to come and say goodbye to their sibling, but and I feel like a jackass for having to say, I'm sorry, you can't.
I mean, I could see it possibly, and if I know you well enough, you saying sorry that you can't is more along the lines of sorry, I don't want you to get killed too.
Exactly. I was like, I told them all, I don't want any of you to get this. You know, my mom was the oldest of 13 and she was 76. You know, the next one down is 75 right now. And it goes, you know, down in order like that. I mean, my aunts and uncles are anywhere between their 50s and 70s. This is not something that I want them to have to deal with, you know?
Exactly. And we have more comments in here. DeVern, my parents and I are convinced that we had COVID in early 2020. Doctor at CVS said I had an upper respiratory infection, but they had no idea what the fuck it was. And this was before we were alerted that COVID was here. And then Kat was mentioning about the pneumonia thing. I've had pneumonia, and it sucks. And then Dromo, Lennon and myself got a nasty upper respiratory infection at the end of December of last year. 5 months later, we weren't sure if it was the early COVID that they said might have been here in California. And I agree with Kat on this. It probably was. And then DeVern, it could have been Drummel. It sucks that because of mismanagement, we will never know. And I added in the fact that you could be asymptomatic. It could have been here in the U.S. for a while, and we never knew. I mean, we're now starting to hear stories that it had been here as early as November. And I know that at the company I was working at before, my last job, that they have a couple of major campuses throughout the U.S., and 2 of them actually got ripped apart with upper respiratory infections of an unknown kind. But it's like almost everybody got sick, and everybody was out for 2 to 3 weeks. And I think that, yeah, it's been here for a while.
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm trying really hard not to start crying again, because I've been so wrapped up in trying to keep things as normal as possible for Adam and even for myself, because it was so wild for so many days, for so long. I just wanted some kind of sense of normalcy back in my life. You know, so when I finally started feeling better from all the aches and pains, I made Christmas throw up in my living room.
Yeah, you did.
I was going to say, I showed you that the other day, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Christmas definitely threw up in your living room.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables, all covered in penguins. I have a real big tree, an actual live tree that is decorated in scarlet and gray with an inflatable penguin beside it.
Nice.
I have a medium tree that's probably about 2 foot tall, maybe 2.5 foot tall, that is covered in penguin decorations and snowflake lights. And I have a third tree sitting in the middle of a bunch of penguins that has, just ornaments and bells and things on it because I thought it was pretty.
Now, one thing though, with your live tree, make sure you keep watering it. No
yes.
Rottweilers named Snots should come over.
No.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Such a great movie.
It really is. Yeah, the tree has plenty of water. Don't worry about that. I've seen that movie one too many times.
It's a great movie.
It is. It's a Christmas classic.
It really is.
Along with Die Hard and Gremlins.
Yep, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a Thanksgiving movie.
Yes, it is.
And they're talking about masks in the chat, and I'm dropping something for you guys.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not getting all the chat comments to show up because my phone is being stupid. I don't know what's going on, but...
So it started coming around. We got a little bit political, so I'm just going to kind of shy away from that because, again, I don't want to do the whole one side or the other side politics on here. The only time I really ever want to do politics on this podcast is when we're all together against all of the politics. Like, the whole war on opioids, for example. But there was one in here that Drummond said, if you believe the conspiracy theories, it started here and we sent it to China. And then I decided to channel my David Fraudicata Wolf and said it came here from cosmic mushrooms.
Yeah, that was the comment that had me laughing, channeling my inner David Fraudicata Wolf.
Devern, I just hope it gets better. I hope it gets better. I just hope it gets better. I want us to be okay. I agree. Richard, festive vomit is always welcomed. Kat said, I expect to wear masks in public for the rest of my life, and that's when I went diving in. And then Drummel went and had, with the politics, I'm just skip it. And then I dropped a link to the Am I Mental face masks. If you guys want to help support us, I actually need to redesign it. The logo's a little too big, and it's hard to read the amimental.com at the bottom. But there you go if you wanted to jump in and get this little design now. And then, Devern, I think masks won't be a forever thing, but somehow I think we could expect them for a ways in the future. Even as things get and are better, because it will take a while to really readjust safely. I personally think that we're probably going to go more along the lines of what you see in different Asian countries, where when you're sick, you put on a mask. And it's not anything that anyone's going to scoff at. It just becomes a societal norm. If you're not feeling well, you put on a mask. Or if you don't trust the people around you put on a mask. And you notice that it's not the bulk of the population wearing masks at any given point in time, but it's a courtesy. I feel sick. I'm putting on a mask for your safety. And I think that might be a change that will become a little more adopted in the Western world.
I could see that happening. I mean, personally, I wore a mask because I'm immunocompromised. I didn't, and it's just proof that you can wear the mask and it can cut your chances down, but sometimes it's still going to happen. You're still going to get sick.
Exactly. I mean, wearing a mask, if I remember the statistics properly, wearing a mask around someone who is contagious without a mask, it cuts down your chances by only like 15%. But if you're contagious, you're cutting down the chances of spreading it by like 80-something%. The two combined, it's over 90%. But I mean, it's not 100%.
Right.
Drummel saying, well, if you look at Japan and a few other places, masks are worn more often than not. Cat, masks are my fashion statement now. Devern, I do think street photography is more fun with people wearing masks because their eyes become way more expressive and noticeable. I have a Guy Fawkes mask, okay? I'm happy about that one. And I walk around, people are like, oh, hey, I like your mask. Remember the 5th of November of gunpowder, treason, and plot. But then, of course, I also have my Am I Mental mask.
Yeah.
And it comes in white, pink, green, blue, and red.
Purple. No.
They didn't actually have that as a color at the time.
I know.
I could try editing it and see if they do, because I need to change it. It's a pretty looking mask. I'm not going to lie. I like it. My only problem I have with the mask that we have there is that the elastic straps could be a little bit longer. Now Cass complained about purple too. Yeah, there's no purple. They didn't have it as an option.
I started something. Sorry.
It's okay. I'd rather want a purple one too.
It's just my favorite colors.
Richard said, no one cared who I was until I put on the mask. Responsible Bane.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Responsible Bane. Love it.
Yeah. I needed that laugh. Thank you.
Oh, that's one thing. I was talking to some other listeners about how much the podcast has changed when you came on versus having KZ. Well, KZ was definitely a lot more serious and straightforward. And then with you, we get a lot more comedy, but we also get a lot of the feels and the warm wrap-up at the end, too. And I have to say, I like it. I like both ways, honestly. It's really about, is it organic? Is it natural? Does it feel right? Yeah, that's what matters to me. I hope that matters to everybody else.
I think when we get KZ back on the show, it's all gonna come together, and it's gonna be really, really good.
KZ can feed off of the energy too, and he is just as funny. So it'll be awesome. DeVern's leaving. All right, you humans, I'm gonna pop out now for a bit. Keep the Bexy. Yeah, we're gonna keep the Bexy. Except when KZ comes back, it's gonna be the three of us. I can't just go, hey, thanks, Bexy. Here's the curb.
You could, and I would understand, but I'd be sad. I
know. And Lennon's all, ew, feels. Cat warm fuzzies.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm.
You snorted.
I am made of feels.
Yeah, so as you see, it's been pretty interesting just for your hosts over the last couple of weeks.
We've had some stuff to deal with, so
it's like some people are like, oh yeah, things happen. When I say things happen, I usually mean that and take that as worst case scenario. Things happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've been on for almost an hour and a half.
Yes, we have.
So yeah, we are already scheduling out season 4. We're starting it right at the first Thursday in January, which I believe was January 4th. Already have, I want to say 5 or 6 guests already booked. Yeah, so we're booking out now, and we're just going to jump right into it. It'll be the winter season.
Yes.
With a cat, I'm definitely going to stop complaining when I get a hangnail. Definitely. Yeah, we have some interesting guests. Rachel, I haven't been able to get a hold of to see if she's going to come on again. I know that she's got a lot of stuff going on right now, but I do have other psychologists that are willing to step in and come on, which I would love to get another perspective. But yeah, then at the season 4, when we're done with season 4, we'll have been on the air for a year.
Huh, that's amazing.
And in that year, we are already self-sustaining and growing, where most podcasts in the first year don't make a penny. So thank you, everybody, for your donations. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you for helping to make us what I consider absolutely a successful first-year podcast for a first-time podcaster. And we definitely have places that we want to keep growing and keep changing and make things better.
Definitely. This is something that
you know, it's become so much a part of me that I feel horrible. Like, even though I was dealing with, you know, my mother being sick and everything, I felt so bad telling E that I had to skip an episode.
Which is fully understandable.
Right. And I knew that it would be understandable and everything would be okay, but man, I really felt bad. I didn't have the mental capacity to I couldn't have even faked being happy that night.
No, and no one would have expected you to. Well, I mean, I can't speak for everybody. Let's be honest, but I'm pretty sure that no one would have expected you to. And I'm checking to see, did we actually meet our goal yet? That little financial goal that we're aiming for.
That would be awesome if we did.
Oh, wouldn't it? I'm checking right now. It'd help if I actually remember my password. There we go. Yeah, I got a new phone, so celebrating the new job that I don't have yet. But I know it's coming.
If you guys want a little bit of heartwarming something, today I let my little brother video call Santa Claus. Cutest thing I've ever done, I swear. You know, for people who don't know, I have guardianship of my 34-year-old mentally incapacitated adopted brother. And he is 34, but he has the mind of a child, and Christmas is his favorite time of year. There is nothing like seeing the joy on his face when I pick up my phone and Santa is calling me to talk to him. And I have anybody who's on my Facebook can I posted the video on my Facebook, so you can see it, and it's
awesome.
It's really the cutest thing. He's so happy.
And the answer is niet. We are not there yet.
We will get there.
We will. Telling you guys, you're gonna want this goal that we're trying to hit here. Bexy knows exactly what's in the works.
Yes, I do. I'm excited.
Oh, come on. All of my stuff I have to set up again. I'll deal with that later. I'm just letting you guys know that we're still about $40 away. I mean, I could pull the trigger on one half of this thing. The other half's going to be pissed. Because it's one of those, do I favor option A or option B? Because half the people out there are on A, half the people are on B.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so...
Oh, goodness. Ow.
So, yeah, the cat was talking about the whole thing about I'm going to stop complaining when I get a hangnail. Drummel's like, do you do your own surgery to remove them, cat? Cat, bud of course. Not but of course. Bud like Budweiser, of course. The other beer, Drummel. In a safe environment you've created. It's a safe environment you've created here. Yeah, I try to make this a safe environment. I really do. And then Drummel saying, you got to take care of you, Bexy. And we've missed you, but totally understand. And then they're making fun of my password stuff. Yeah, well. And Kat understands because she just got a new cell phone too. Lost access to Facebook accounts. I did not lose that. I just have a 30-day ban. And then Richard, I'll be honest, keeping the spirit of Santa alive for the people who believe is one of life's great joys. Oh yes, And then Kat asked how much to goal. Yeah, seriously, the amount to goal, it's about $40. Unfortunately, my bank decided to take some of the money that you guys had donated, so I'm going to have to put some of my own money into there to replace it. Be like, you son of a bitch. Don't worry about it. I'll still cover that part. But yeah, we're about $40 from goal. And Richard said, balanced like all things should be. Okay, Thanos. Man, did I see some messed up memes after the Thanos finger snap, though. Like a lady vaping said she was pregnant until Thanos snapped. And the big vape cloud was coming out. And another person said, oh God, what about the opposite?
Oh, goodness.
I still have to catch up on the movies. I haven't I watched, So I did watch up to the point where, Thanos did snap his fingers. And I did watch the Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I haven't seen anything since.
Ah.
Guy's like, what? Your bank took it? Yeah, you see, with this not being employed thing, they decided to take the money out of my account to apply it to my credit card without my permission. Where I normally pay it from a different bank account. So, yeah. What I'm going to wind up doing is I'm just going to send that money back over from my other bank account. And don't worry about it. I need to figure out what I really need to do is I need to get the business license. That's the goal for next year. Business license, business accounts, absolute separation between the two. This thing's starting to make money. I need to do it. Yeah, Richard was laughing about the whole Thanos thing. Well, yeah. We laugh at you, Thanos. So, anybody have any other comments? Anything to say? Questions?
Check your text messages. I have a question that I didn't want to say out loud.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which one did I use for that?
Why I asked and didn't just assume.
I might just have to walk over and grab my old phone. I'm being visited by a wild Ryuk.
Oh, I love the Ryuk. Ooh, I just saw myself. That's scary. Crying Bexy is not a pretty Bexy.
Let's see, Kat, if I can remember my account for LibrePay, I'll help some more. Kat, you've been amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, my jaw hit the floor. You guys are so awesome. Like, seriously. Yeah, as far as... I know that with Season 1 to Season 2, the big change was we got more time. We went from a 45-minute hard limit to we have a 3-hour hard limit. Season 2 to Season 3, the really big change was we started an hour earlier to be more convenient for our East Coast listeners. And, of course, Bexy came in partway through that. Don't really have any major change between Season 3 and Season 4 that I can think of. So right now, I think that what we have works well. But there's this cool little thing I'd love to be able to throw in and go, hey, for Season 4, guess what? You get... I'm not saying what it is yet. If we happen to reach goal, I will tell you guys immediately. Because it looks like some people are trying to get us to reach goal. So, hey, that's awesome. You know what, let me get my other phone so I get access to all my accounts again really fast.
There we go. I have Venmo'd.
You what?
I have successfully Venmo'd.
Ooh, we're closer.
I was like, I have it, and that's one thing I don't mind helping out with at all.
I mean, you're already a part of the show. You don't really need to do anything else. But thank you.
I don't mind.
That is awesome.
I believe in what we're doing.
And if I didn't believe in what we were doing, I wouldn't still be doing it.
Exactly.
And of course, I mean, it initially started out with me doing it all just straight out of pocket to begin with.
Oh, I know. You know, but the fact that we're not even a year in yet and it's already, become self-sustaining is kind of amazing.
It became self-sustaining on the second to last episode of season 1.
Yeah.
That was amazing. No, seriously, the listeners here are just the absolute best. Drummer, no go for Jew. Richard, I can't wait till season 5 when the angels come in to fight the demons. I thought Castiel came in season 4. All right. So it looks like we're going to hit goal tonight. If not before, I mean, we're going to hit goal before we come into the next season. So I'm just going to go ahead and announce it. Or Bexy, you want to do it?
I'll let you do it.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Custom iOS and Android apps specifically for our podcast.
So exciting.
That way you will have an Am I Mental app for the podcast.
I love it.
Yeah, and the reason for the price is that I don't have to develop it. Spreaker is actually going to go ahead and develop it and distribute it. So, because it's their platform to begin with. But this way...
I'm bouncing in happiness.
Yeah, you'll have just your own little app specifically for this podcast. It'll have all the back stuff. I believe it'll have alerts, so when we go live, plink, there it is. Yeah, that way maybe I could stop having to send out all the text to everybody going, hey, we're going live, hey, we're going live, hey, we're going live. I do want to put on a mailing list on the website that you guys have to confirm. That way I can just send out a quick email bomb. It's like just a list. Going live in an hour, email, done. Yeah, okay, we got some celebration there. Richard, yee! Lennon, yay! That's awesome, Kat. Oh, so cool! Woohoo! Yeah, this is something I've been wanting to do. I mean, this is something when I read about it when I first signed up, I was like, man, that might be year 2, year 3 goal. And here we are, getting it in year 1. That's amazing.
Is someone a Doctor Who fan? I see spoilers.
In
the chat.
I don't watch Doctor Who, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I do.
No, I know you do.
That's a thing.
I know. I'm not judging you. That judgment already got passed.
Please, you hate me less than most, and I know it.
Oh, it's absolutely true. So yeah, since we're going to hit goal before season 4 starts, there you go. I'm hoping to have that app. I don't know how long it takes for them to publish it, but hopefully it'll be out soon. I'm getting a bad E because I don't watch Doctor Who. Look, I loved, which was it? Don't Blink, I think it was. That one, the...
Oh, with the Weeping Angels?
Yes. Oh, that was such a good episode.
It was great.
And I watched...
I get flack for being a Doctor Who fan, but not because I'm a fan, but because of who my favorite Doctor is.
I just, again, and I watched, I think it was just called Darkness. That one where they're on that alien planet and the thing broke down. The transit. That was a really good one, too. And I'm not saying that, Doctor Who's bad. It's just that a lot of their stories and a lot of the effects and all that, I just can't suspend disbelief enough, unfortunately. But for the people that love it, more power to you. I mean, it's a long-running series for a reason.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I can't suspend disbelief for that, but I'm all for, I love Star Trek. I love the Orville. I love Star Wars. I love Supernatural.
Well, I love those things, too.
Richard said my favorite Doctor was the one with the leather coat and big ears.
That's mine too. Number 9.
There you go, Richard.
I loved Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor.
Maybe I just really need to give it a better chance. Because, I mean, those couple of episodes I saw, oh, man, they were so good. But that was also told these were like 11 of 10 episodes in ranking. Like, out of 10 out of 10, they got 11s.
Yeah. There are some really, really, really good ones. And there are some where, like you said, it's hard to suspend the
disbelief.
And there were a couple where I found it, but I still watch. And I love the show. I really do. I mean, I have a little mini wall of TARDISes in my living room.
I mean, honestly, if there was like a DVD collection of like the very best of Doctor Who, I would absolutely get it. Absolutely. Of course, then I'd be sitting there going, why am I getting a DVD? Can't I just buy this and stream it? Again, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for following us on our journey. We're only 3/4 way through of our first year. I can't tell you guys how much it means having you guys coming back week after week. And even for the people that, pop on for a little bit and then disappear and then eventually come back, you guys also mean a ton. You guys are all way awesome. Drummel just said 10th Doctor all the way.
That's my second favorite Doctor. But when I first started watching Doctor Who, I started with number 9. And I don't know, that he's always been my favorite.
I don't know which Doctors are which. So, yeah. Bad me.
David Tennant was number 10.
Is that the one from the Weeping Angels one and Darkness?
Trying to think. It's been a while since I've watched them because I don't know where Doctor Who is streaming on anymore. If it's streaming at all.
You know what? I can just look him up. If I recognize him... Yes. Okay. That was the Doctor at the time.
Yeah.
Wow, he looks different with the beard.
Yeah, he looked different when he was... I just watched the 2011 version of Fright Night, and I hadn't seen it since it came out. And I've forgotten that he was in it. And I was like, wow, he looks really weird, all gothed up.
By the way, Drummel and Lennon both said you can Doctor Who streaming on HBO Max.
Okay. I think I have that.
I think you have everything that streams.
I think so.
Do you have the horror channel one?
No, actually, I don't. I need to get that.
I want that one so bad.
I
love bad horror movies.
I can't believe I don't have that, but I have 2 anime streaming apps. Actually, yes, I can.
Now I'm being asked how to find me on LibrePay. Let's see, copy address. LibrePay.com/mentallifecast/donate. Drummel's asking Funimation and Crunchyroll?
Huh?
Drummel asked Funimation and Crunchyroll?
Yes. Yes. I have Funimation, I have Crunchyroll, I have Disney Plus, I have Hulu and Netflix, I have Amazon Prime, I have Vudu, I have Showtime Anytime, Stars. Oh, I actually don't have HBO right now, but I have a free 3-month trial of it, so I'm going to be binge watching Doctor Who soon.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on Stars because I have to watch. I've watched the first season of American Gods. I need to watch the second season. Oh my god, that show was so good.
It is so good.
And I mean, the name Shadow Moon, so awesome.
Oh, I know.
And I mean, Mr. Wednesday is on it. I mean, you like at first you're like, this guy's just kind of but man.
No, I never thought that.
Yeah, no, he was amazing.
Well, I never thought that because I love the actor that plays him.
Oh well, yeah.
And I knew something amazing was gonna. I knew it.
Well, yeah.
Of course, my favorite role by him is still Al Swearingen in Deadwood,
which I still haven't seen.
Ugh.
I know, I'm bad.
I think that's on Amazon though.
I have Amazon.
Pretty sure Deadwood's on there.
Crispin Glover is absolutely amazing in American Gods. But I mean, what isn't he amazing on?
Yeah, really.
And there's so many. It's like I'm looking through the cast of characters. So many. And of course, one of the more cult following kind of actors or actresses, Kristen Chenoweth, is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Drummel just said Funimation bought Crunchy.
Crunchyroll. Yeah, I had heard that. That means all the anime for one price. Yay!
I've only ever watched one anime. Well, okay, I take that back. They actually technically say that like Transformers, like the original Transformers and the original Thundercats were anime, so I watched those. I guess what they consider anime is really cheap animation where the frame rate is awful. Okay. So, sure. I did watch, and go ahead and judge me all you want, I did watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Original series and the Battle City series because my son was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! And we both got really into the card game. And it was actually pretty good.
That's sweet.
And then I watched, because of my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter's recommendation, when I said, if there's one anime I have to watch, what is it? She said, let me think about it. About an hour later, she came up to me and said, all right, so I got to ask, what's more important to you? Action or story? And I said, story. She said, Death Note. And now I have a cat named Ryuk. So...
Death Note was awesome, though.
And Ryuk is definitely, he's sitting on the bed staring at me.
I'm telling you, it's not a cat, it's a Shinigami.
Probably, but he didn't give me the Death Note. I think he just observes.
See if he likes apples.
And I've been told that for action, I should watch the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes.
And I'll still definitely take Brotherhood over the other.
Yes. I love them both. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. It's like they love both. But if you're going to watch only one, watch Brotherhood.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that. Also, if you... I don't know. I like some of the anime that I watch is really dark. If you like action with a good story, I recommend Tokyo Ghoul.
I've heard a lot about that one too.
It's amazing.
And every time I search, when I was on Whisper, I searched Ghoul. It always popped up with Tokyo Ghoul stuff. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a reason for this.
Yeah, it's really excellent. My opinion.
I don't care about your opinion. No, I'm kidding. I do. I totally care about your opinion. I'm just in the mood.
Yeah, you're in the mood. Don't make me cry. I've already cried enough today.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like, I'm back to smiling. I'd like to keep it that way for a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Well, for a long time, but...
Well, I mean, you know, it's... The first time I ever actually heard it in being said or writing, it was actually in the Dragonlance Chronicles, where they said that if it wasn't for the bad, we would never be able to enjoy the good.
Yes.
It's something along those lines.
I agree with that, because I tell people all the time when they ask me how I deal with things, the autoimmune disease and other things, and I tell them the bad days make me appreciate the good ones.
Kind of like with Beavis and Butthead when they had their epiphany. Maybe we have stuff that sucks in order to like the stuff that doesn't suck. Because, like, if nothing sucked, then everything would suck. Drummel say Death Note is good, just don't watch the live action. Okay, Drummel, the live action from Japan was fantastic. The Netflix one was absolute crap.
The best thing about it was freaking Willem Dafoe as Ryuk, and they didn't use him enough.
Exactly. Agree 100%. Richard's saying, y'all watch The Mandalorian? I started. I haven't finished it. I know. I need to finish it. I really liked it. And the Drummel saying, anime will make you smile. Good quote. And that's what you're talking about. Right now, Bexy's hugging Baby Yoda.
I have 2 of him.
That's awesome.
This is my bedroom Baby Yoda. I have one in the living room, too, that sits by my chair.
Okay, so, Drummel, for the Japanese one, we got it for my daughter. We actually purchased, it was a two DVD set. The first one was, what's awesome is that it's dubbed by the same voiceover actors that dubbed the original anime to English as well. So you're getting the same exact voices that you're already familiar with. Yeah, of course, because anime, you could do some special effects and things that you can't do live. So they had to make some changes, but the changes they made all made sense. And they worked well. But the second DVD is El Save World, which is part of the manga series. Which was amazing. But I'm getting door taps now because it's been 2 hours. So
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. So I think that we're going to have to end it with that. We'll be back. Oh, let me get the calendar. I think it was January 4th. I just want to double check.
I believe it was, but...
January 7th, because...
Oh, January 7th, yes.
Yeah, because New Year's Eve is the 31st. Is Thursday. Yes. So, yeah. That means that Christmas...
We'll be back January 7th.
Yes, we will be back January 7th. And hopefully we will have the app. And hopefully I've been able to make some extra changes on the website. But until then, everybody, take care of yourselves. If you're having a rough time, you need to reach out to someone, by all means, just you do it. Whether it's me, whether it's Bexy, whether it's another one of you guys, a family, a friend, whatever. And if you're concerned about someone, reach out. This time of year, it's really awesome to just reach out. You might save a life.
You never know what somebody is going through, inside their mind. People all the time will put on a happy face and pretend, and you don't have to do that. It's okay if you're not okay for a while.
Yeah. It's definitely, then I think we have a shirt that says that. It's okay to not be okay.
Yes. I'm still waiting on my Skin Baby shirt.
Yeah, I'm going to do the lighter side shop during the holiday season too, so we can have the Skin Baby shirt and have the Skin Baby filtration system mask.
The HEPA filter.
Tossing out a HEPA filter's murder. Oh, that episode was great.
I loved it.
All right, again, so we'll see you in the new year. Once again, my name is E.
And I'm Bexy.
And we'll catch you then.
All right, bye, guys.